And Larry Garfield?
Hello. I'm going to leave my camera off here. I haven't shaved today.
Okay.
So in my time that I've been paying attention to city government, one thing I hear a lot is we need to be careful with the budget. We need to not spend money we don't have, need to not take on new expenses, which is fair enough. But we have 3 candidates in this race. There's a number of other races that have multiple, more than 2 candidates, which means we're very likely going to need to go to a runoff election in April rather than just being done in February. That doubles the cost of running elections. We could easily save that money by adopting ranked choice voting for the city, for city elections, like a number of cities around the country have done. New York is the largest one recently. 5 additional cities adopted it in the last election. Would you support ranked choice voting for Evanston elections as a way to reduce costs and have various other benefits associated with that? This is to all candidates.
Okay, who would you like to direct that to first, Larry?
Let's start with Daniel.
Thank you, Larry. I strongly support ranked choice voting. I actually had legislation in Springfield to get it done. It's not something that the kind of machine politicians in Springfield liked, so I couldn't get it through, but it's something I believe in. And just to bring everyone up to speed, the idea of ranked choice voting is instead of, the voting systems we're used to are either a system like what we have now, where you have an initial race and then you got to go back and vote again a few weeks later in a runoff, which is, as Larry says, is pretty expensive, or a system where even if there's 8 different candidates, whoever gets the most votes wins, and they might win with 20% or something, and you wind up thinking, wait, is that person really supported by the community at large? So a system of ranked choice voting is where when you go into the voting booth, you don't just check, here's the candidate who I'm for. You say, hey, my first choice is this person, and my second choice is this other person, and my third choice is this other person. And then when the votes are tabulated, they run it through a system where they ensure that whoever winds up winning actually has majority support. It's a system that's in place now in Maine, for example. It's in place in other places in the country. And what it does is it allows us to have an efficient, quick election that actually measures the will of the people. I'll quickly end because I think the history note here is pretty important. The system that has an initial round and then a runoff round 6 weeks later was initially designed specifically by white supremacists who did not want to see Chicago elect an African-American mayor. Now, didn't work for them. We elected Harold Washington anyhow in 1983, but nonetheless, the voting system that we have now was created, I think, for pretty malevolent reasons, and it's got a lot of problems associated with it. So I would say, Larry, the solution you suggest of ranked choice voting, where we go in on one day, it's less expensive, we rank our options, and then we find out who the preference of the community is and we move forward, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Biss. Sebastian Nalls?
I think Senator Biss did a great job of explaining ranked choice voting, so I won't spend too much time on it. But yes, I do support it. I've always supported it through my 2 years of being an eligible voter. It's something that enhances democracy. We've seen it in effect in Georgia, especially with their Senate races and their subsequent runoff races that just took place. And we saw that lower turnout was in effect because of those runoff races. And as Senator Biss mentioned, that's because white supremacists originally drew up this idea to limit the amount of Black people and especially low income people from voting. And, it's hard enough already to come out on one day and vote. And it's making it more difficult if you have to tell that same person, hey, take off work again, come out, vote another day 6 weeks later. And for some individuals, that's not possible. So I believe that it's necessary that we implement something like that in Evanston, in Illinois at large, and in the nation, and just to expand democracy. I don't see a problem with giving more individuals options and expanding our electorate as a subsequent.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. And Lori Keenan?
Well, yes is the short answer. I think we could and should be using ranked choice voting. And I think that right now, especially in the country right now, I think that all eyes were on elections. And we all learned what we could do for a mail-in vote, and we all learned more about early voting. And I think even standing at the polls on election day, there were barely any people there. Now, part of that is about COVID, but if part of that is about voter suppression, then I think if we're asking people to come out and we can get them out one time, then I think that's going to be the most efficient and inclusive way to have an election. And I think that that's an important part. Here in town, I can say, I don't honestly, if I'm telling the truth, know that I've ever voted in a mayoral primary. Now this year, it's more important than ever to me. So I think that education and inclusion and trying to get a system in place that helps everybody is going to be the best choice for everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. These are some great questions, everyone. I mean, these are awesome. Okay.